November 22, 1963, 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Robert F. Kennedy, the Attorney General of the United States, was having lunch by the pool at his Virginia estate when the phone rang. His wife, Ethel, answered. Her face went pale. "It's J. Edgar Hoover." Kennedy grabbed the phone. The FBI director's voice was cold, emotionless, almost satisfied. "The president's been shot in Dallas. It may be fatal." Kennedy's body contorted. His hand went to his face. Within minutes, he mumbled to aide Ed Guthman words that would haunt him. "There's so much bitterness. I thought they'd get one of us. I thought it would be me." But Robert Kennedy didn't collapse into grief. He didn't wait for official reports. He didn't trust the authorities. Instead, within hours, he began his own investigation. His first call wasn't to the Dallas police, wasn't to the Secret Service, wasn't to the FBI. His first call was to the CIA, and he asked them directly, "Did you kill my brother?" If you want to understand why, Robert Kennedy publicly supported the Warren Commission while privately calling it a shoddy piece of craftsmanship, why he remained silent for 5 years while knowing his brother's murder was a conspiracy, and why he was gunned down in 1968 just as he was about to expose the truth, hit that like button and subscribe. Because this isn't about grief. This is about guilt, strategic silence, and revenge that never came. Robert Kennedy knew something the public didn't. As Attorney General, he had overseen the dark side of American power, the CIA Mafia plots to kill Castro, the covert operations in Cuba, the connections between organized crime and intelligence agencies. He knew his brother had made enemies, powerful enemies, enemies with the means to kill a president, so Bobby Kennedy made 3 calls that first day. Call 1, a CIA desk officer at Langley. His question, "Did your people do this?" Call 2, CIA Director John McCone. McCone rushed to Bobby's estate. They spent 3 hours together. Kennedy later told historian Arthur Schlesinger he asked McCone point blank, "Did the CIA kill my brother?" McCone said no. Call 3, Enrique Harry Ruiz Williams, a Bay of Pigs veteran, Bobby's closest contact in the Cuban exile community. The same question, did anti-Castro Cubans kill Jack? Notice what's missing. The Attorney General of the United States never called Dallas authorities, never expressed confidence in the official investigation, never mentioned Lee Harvey Oswald. Why? Because Bobby Kennedy had a list of suspects, and Oswald wasn't on it. The CIA, furious about the Bay of Pigs failure and Kennedy's refusal to invade Cuba during the missile crisis, the Mafia, targeted by Bobby's unprecedented anti-crime crusade. Carlos Marcello, Santos Traficante, Sam Giancana, all had publicly threatened the Kennedys, anti-Castro Cubans, who felt betrayed when Kennedy refused to provide air support at the Bay of Pigs. And there was one more suspect, one Bobby couldn't investigate, one who now sat in the Oval Office. Lyndon Baines Johnson. The relationship between Robert Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson was pure venom. It began in 1960 when JFK chose Johnson as his running mate over Bobby's fierce objections. Bobby saw Johnson as a corrupt Texas politician. Johnson saw Bobby as a spoiled rich kid playing at power. During the Kennedy presidency, Bobby made sure Johnson was frozen out. The vice president attended meetings but was never consulted. He sat in corners, humiliated, powerless. Biographers describe LBJ as miserable during those 3 years. And Bobby? He wielded the Attorney General's office like a knife. He went after organized crime, including Johnson's Texas oil allies. He investigated defense contract corruption, benefiting Johnson's donors. He pushed civil rights legislation that alienated Johnson's Southern power base. By November 1963, the Kennedy brothers were planning to drop Johnson from the 1964 ticket. Multiple sources confirmed this. Johnson knew it, and Johnson had everything to lose. He was facing scandal. The Bobby Baker case, his protege caught in corruption, was exploding. Life magazine was preparing an expose that would end Johnson's career. Senate investigators were closing in. Johnson's political life was over, unless something changed, unless the president died. And on November 22, 1963, in Dallas, Johnson's city, Johnson's state, Johnson's territory, the president did die. Lyndon Johnson, hours away from political destruction, became the most powerful man in the world. That evening, Robert Kennedy arrived at Andrews Air Force Base. Air Force One touched down. The casket was being unloaded, and there was Lyndon Johnson, newly sworn in, waiting at the top of the stairs. Kennedy rushed past him, didn't acknowledge him, didn't speak. According to witnesses, his face showed not grief, but fury. The next day, Johnson summoned Bobby to the White House. He wanted Kennedy to stay on as Attorney General. The meeting was excruciating. Sitting across from Johnson in his brother's office was unbearable. "I can't stand the sight of him," Kennedy told friends. But publicly, Bobby played along. He attended cabinet meetings. He cooperated with investigations. He even defended the Warren Commission. Why? Because Robert Kennedy made a cold calculation. Without the presidency, he couldn't touch Johnson, couldn't investigate the CIA, couldn't challenge the military-industrial complex. So he waited, he planned, he prepared for the long game. On September 27, 1964, the Warren Commission released its report, Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. No conspiracy. Robert Kennedy issued a public statement supporting it. The commission's inquiry was thorough and conscientious, but privately? Kennedy told historian Arthur Schlesinger something very different. It's evident he believes it was a poor job and will not endorse it, but he is unwilling to criticize it and thereby reopen the whole tragic business. Decades later, RFK's son revealed what his father really thought. Bobby called the Warren report a shoddy piece of craftsmanship. He was dismissive of it. He believed, with near certainty, that multiple people conspired to kill his brother. More shocking, Bobby had Justice Department investigators secretly research the assassination. They examined phone records of Lee Harvey Oswald and Jack Ruby, the nightclub owner who killed Oswald. What they found stunned him. The records were like an inventory of Mafia leaders: Marcello, Trafficante, Giancana. All three had been targeted by Bobby's anti-crime crusade. All three had threatened the Kennedys. All three had connections to CIA operations and Jack Ruby. He'd been recruited by the CIA for Castro assassination plots, the mob, the agency, and Ruby, all working together. Bobby also discovered something else, something he couldn't say publicly. The evidence pointed toward someone who benefited most from JFK's death, someone in the White House, but Kennedy stayed silent, not from fear, from strategy. He understood power. Without the presidency, any investigation would be blocked, buried, discredited. Worse, it might get him killed. So he built his strength. In 1964, he ran for Senate from New York. Won. Gained subpoena power and a national platform. Then, he waited. He became the voice of the anti-war movement. He championed civil rights. He built a coalition: black voters, Latinos, anti-war Democrats, working-class whites. He became the most popular Democrat in America, more popular than Johnson. And he prepared for his moment. He called it the Dallas File, a collection of evidence, documents, witness statements, connections between the CIA, the Mafia, anti-Castro Cubans, and, though he never said it directly, Lyndon Johnson. Kennedy told close associates that if he won the presidency, his first act would be reopening his brother's case, not through another commission, through a special prosecutor, with full authority. Heads will roll, he told friends. March 16, 1968, Robert Kennedy announced his candidacy for president. His message: take back the White House, take back the power, take back the country. He didn't mention Dallas. He talked about Vietnam, poverty, healing divisions. He was careful, strategic. He knew that openly challenging the assassination narrative would destroy him. So he waited. Win the presidency. Get control of the Justice Department, the FBI, the CIA. Then reopen the investigation. Then expose the killers. Then bring them to justice. 2 weeks after Kennedy entered the race, Lyndon Johnson made a shocking announcement. He would not seek re-election. Johnson was done. Kennedy had forced him out, Bobby Kennedy was going to be president. The polls showed it. The crowds showed it. He won Indiana, won Nebraska, lost Oregon, but it didn't matter. California was next. Win California, win the nomination, win the nomination, win the presidency. Win the presidency, open the Dallas file. On June 4th, 1968, Kennedy won California. 46% of the vote. The path to the White House was clear. Shortly after midnight on June 5th, Kennedy stood in the embassy ballroom of the Ambassador Hotel. 1,800 supporters cheered. He delivered his victory speech. And now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there. He left the podium. His security guided him through a kitchen hallway, a shortcut to the press conference. Kennedy shook hands with workers. He smiled, relaxed. A man stepped from behind a dish rack. Sirhan, 24 years old, Palestinian, point-blank range, multiple shots. Kennedy fell. At 1:44 a.m. on June 6, 1968, Robert F. Kennedy died. He was 42 years old, 82 days after announcing his campaign, 5 years after his brother's assassination, months away from the presidency, months away from reopening the Dallas file. Did Lyndon Johnson kill John F. Kennedy? There's no smoking gun. But consider the circumstantial evidence. Motive. Johnson faced career-ending scandals, removal from the 1964 ticket, political death, means, connections to Texas organized crime, oil interests, political operatives who could arrange anything. Opportunity. The motorcade route went through his territory, his state, his power base. Outcome, from a heartbeat away from destruction to the most powerful man in the world, in one gunshot. After the assassination, Johnson controlled the investigation. He appointed the Warren Commission, selected its members, including Allen Dulles, the former CIA director JFK had fired. Johnson pressured them, reach a quick conclusion, no conspiracy, close the case. And when Robert Kennedy started building power, Johnson didn't just oppose him, he tried to destroy him. FBI wiretaps on Kennedy, rumors about his private life, blocked legislation. Johnson made it clear, Bobby Kennedy was the enemy. Why such hatred? Why such fear? Political rivalry or something deeper? Did Johnson worry that if Kennedy became president, the truth would come out? Robert Kennedy never got to open the Dallas file, never got to expose his brother's killers, never got his revenge. Some call it coincidence. The Kennedys were high profile. They made enemies, they took risks. Others call it conspiracy. The same forces that killed John Kennedy killed Robert Kennedy, to prevent the truth from emerging, to protect the guilty. We'll never know for certain. The witnesses are dead. The files remain sealed. The truth remains hidden. But Robert Kennedy knew something. And he died before he could tell us. 5 years of silence, 5 years of planning, 5 years of waiting for the moment when he could expose his brother's killers. And in a kitchen hallway in Los Angeles, that moment was taken from him. Did RFK believe LBJ killed his brother? He never said it publicly, but his actions speak clearly. He didn't believe Oswald acted alone. He didn't trust the Warren Commission. He suspected the CIA, the Mafia, anti-Castro Cubans, and possibly political figures at the highest levels. And Lyndon Johnson sat at the very top. Bobby Kennedy was supposed to know where the darkness fell. He was supposed to keep his brother safe. His brother's death was his fault, or so the killers wanted him to believe. They killed the president. They crippled the attorney general with guilt. They forced him into silence. And when he finally built the power to fight back, they killed him too. So if this made you question the official history, hit that like button. Share this with anyone who still believes the Warren Commission. Subscribe for more investigations into the cover-ups that changed America. Tell us in the comments. Do you think RFK believed LBJ was involved? Do you think the same forces killed both brothers? Because history isn't just what they tell us, it's what they hide. And the Kennedy assassinations remain the most hidden story in American history. The truth doesn't disappear just because powerful people want it to. It waits, it echoes, and someday, maybe, it emerges.